Hi everyone, welcome to this workshop on Python programming for data science. In this 5-day workshop, we are going to learn sufficient amount of Python programming language so that you come from, even if you are coming from a zero knowledge of Python programming, you will reach a position where you will say you have got the foundational knowledge of Python programming and you will become a pro in Python programming. And you can jump into data science with the knowledge we will cover in the 5-day session. Plus, you will also get access to the videos where you will have additional practice videos available. Before I get into the Python programming workshop, and thanks for all of you for giving your intro. Let me give my brief intro. As you can see on the screen, I have 20 plus years experience. For last 3 plus years, I've been in the training industry, and I would have done training to 4,000 plus uh, students, data science aspirants who are aspiring to get into data science. I have given the training on Python, SAS, R, machine learning techniques, various algorithms, and so forth. And my education background, I am a graduate from VJTI. I did senior management program from IIM Calcutta. I did various certifications on project management and Oracle certification, and for various other education institutes, I also give training as an adjunct faculty. So this is a quick brief about me. What we have to cover as part of the workshop, we'll start off with Jupyter Notebook, because that's the environment which we are going to use for Python session. It's easy to learn Python using Jupyter Notebook. There are other IDEs available like Spider and PyCharm, which are the popular IDE when it comes to Python programming. And Jupyter is definitely very popular because it's very user friendly. So for the training, we are going to use Jupyter Notebook. What you are going to cover? We'll cover Python basics, data types, data structures, modules, packages, two important modules which are there in Python, NumPy, Pandas. And once you get to Pandas, Pandas is where you actually create your data frame. The structured data. In simple SQL language, data frame is like table in a database language. That's where we'll get into how to do various data manipulation, data wrangling, all of that. We'll get into the data management aspect. Yeah. This is the entire detail of the videos which are there on our e-learning portal. As you can see, there is a link given above, elearning.k2analytics.co.in sp-app/resources. I'll share this link. Don't bother about it now. After the today's workshop session, you are requested to go and register on this. I will share the access to the Python videos. As you can see, the Python video starts from setup, data structures, modules, NumPy, Pandas, import, export of data, and data management. Entire thing is covered. Almost 12 hours of video content is there, which will be made available. Okay, so request you to go ahead and register there. So this is a quick brief intro before we get into the workshop. I'm sure my colleague Jishnu would have assisted you people and ensured Python Anaconda installation is done. So step 1, we'll now quickly jump into Anaconda Python Jupyter Notebook. So what I'm going to do is I'll just close my Jupyter Notebook, and you have to follow the steps along with me. I'll type Anaconda prompt. Some of you, as you mentioned, you already know Python to some extent. It would be very familiar to you that you how to go about launching Jupyter Notebook. However, Some of you have not used Jupyter so far, and today my colleague has got the installation done. So what you have to do is type Anaconda. So Anaconda prompt as it comes up, enter, and you can simply type here Jupyter Notebook, enter. For my case, I'm going to change the path. The reason I'm changing the path is because the training content which I am supposed to train is in a specific folder. So I would have to change it. But in your case, you may simply go ahead and type Jupyter Notebook and launch the Jupyter Notebook. For my case, I have these training content in this folder. As such, I have changed the working directory. I type Jupyter Notebook, enter, and you'll see Jupyter Notebook will open in a browser. Something of this will come on your screen, and Jupyter Notebook has opened in a browser. Something in your case, when you launch it, you will have a blank Jupyter Notebook. Let me simulate that also by directly running Jupyter Notebook from this path. Okay, here this is the folder. So and if there is any content, it will come up. Okay, so something like this, it will open up. This section may be blank in your case. If the folder from where you are launching Jupyter Notebook does not have any file. Okay, first thing, we have to understand the Jupyter Notebook interface and how to go about working with Jupyter Notebook. Whenever you work with any tool, it is important that you become very comfortable with the user interface provided by that tool. At any given point of time, if you think you are not following, unmute yourself, ask question so that we can resolve that then and there. I've got this interface. I'll say new and Python 3. This should open a empty Jupyter Notebook file. Okay. Python program. The default extension for a Python program is .py. .py is the extension of a Python program. However, if you create a file in Jupyter Notebook, the extension of the file, as you can see here, is IPYNB. IPython Notebook. Internet, it is a file which opens in browser. So it is a Python notebook file which opens in your browser. So when you create a file in Jupyter Notebook, the extension will be .ipynb. Okay, so this is the cell where we can write the syntaxes. I'm sure you are with me so far. I'm already at 125% zoom of browser, so you will be able to see things in bigger font. Okay, I've increased it further. Step 1, what we'll do is we'll give a name to this file. Here it is untitled. In my case, it is coming untitled 3. In your case, it may come as untitled 1. I click on that. How to give a name? I click on that and I'll just give any name. My first Python code. So I give such name. My first Python code. You see, file already exists. Okay. This is what name I typically give whenever I do a workshop or when I start the Jupyter Python training session. So probably I'll have to give it my first Python code 2. And I say rename. The file name appears here. Now, how to go about using Jupyter Notebook? This is a cell where we type code. Now in this cell, if you see, it is blue in color here. If I press enter, it goes green. If I press escape key, it again turns blue. I press enter, it turns green. Escape blue, enter green. When I press enter, it is in edit mode. When I press escape and it is blue, it is in command mode. So there are two modes, command mode and edit mode. When you are in edit mode, here you can see this pencil comes up, which means you can type some code here, a equal to 10. And when it is in blue, it is in command mode. Now what is command mode? Say I have written some syntax and I want to write more syntaxes but in a new cell. What I can do is simply press the keyboard character B. It is in blue. I press the keyboard character B. It introduces a new cell below. I can now write B equal to 20. We are first just learning the tool, the Jupyter environment. I press escape. I press now the character A. It is going to introduce a cell which is above. Enter C equal to 30. So what we have learned so far, we have just opened a Jupyter notebook. We are just trying to understand. So now, how do I know these shortcuts? A, B, above, below. If you want to know all of the shortcuts, keep the cell in command mode and press the character H. The entire help on various shortcuts, here you can see command mode. The various shortcuts you have will pop up. My font is too big, that's why it's not appearing nicely. Let me short it. Okay. I am again coming in that help. So now it's nicely appearing. So you can see various. So A, this is the help for A. Insert cell above. B, insert cell below. X, cut the selected cell. C, copy the selected cell. Shift V, paste the cell above, paste below. This way you can have the help. There are certain keys, certain shortcuts which you will be frequently using. So you should know those shortcuts. A for above, B for below, X for cut, V for paste, C for copy, V for paste. So these are certain shortcuts you should know. So this is about introducing cells above, below, very basic. Again, you may think, what is this person teaching? No, it's very essential to understand these shortcuts, because unless you understand the tool interface, you will not be able to comfortably work with it. Now coming to programming, you know A equal to 10. It's a very simple syntax where you are assigning the value 10 to variable A. However, the cell has not executed. Python is a interpreted language. All of you are programmers. You know, programming language, there are two types of languages, interpreted and compiled. In interpreted language, as you give the command, the code gets executed. In a compiled language, you have to first compile and then you have to execute the whole code. So here it is interpreted. So how do I execute? There is a button run here. But I don't want to keep using that run button, because as I keep typing the syntax, I cannot keep taking my mouse up and run. So there is a shortcut. Shift enter. The code has got executed. Shift enter. I again press shift enter. You can see this number. Here the cell is empty. Here the number has come up. Shift enter is the shortcut to execute the cell. Let me bring the focus to C equal to 30. How can I bring the focus to C equal to 30? I can press arrow keys up and down. I press the down arrow, my cell focus moves up and down. So far I have been using shift enter. Hash is for comment. So I am now typing here control plus enter. What is control plus enter? Again, it is a way to run the code. Control enter. What is the difference between shift enter, control enter? In control enter, focus of the cell does not move to the next cell. I press shift enter. The focus of the cell goes to the next cell. So I'll delete everything now. X, 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 everything gone. Okay. So Sanjeev, go ahead and introduce a cell. How do you go about? What is the shortcut? B. It should be in a command mode. It should be in command mode, and the key that you have to press is B. Okay.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. So let's get into edit mode. I press enter key. A equal to 10. How do I run the code, Nitesh?
In the escape mode, in shift enter.
Yeah, you need not be in escape mode. You can be in this edit mode also. Shift enter.
Okay.
So you need not to run the code. You need not be in the escape mode. You can continue to remain in the edit mode also. Okay. Yeah. Sanjeev, you may unmute yourself. Yeah. Thanks. So that's a shortcut. To execute, we can be in edit or command mode. Either of them is okay. Okay. Now I go to this cell. B equal to 20. I press shift enter. Immediately a new cell is introduced. C equal to 30. Shift enter. New cell gets introduced. So when you are in a cell, if it is the last cell, a new cell will get come up automatically when you press shift enter. So here again I'm in the cell. The cell numbers is automatically keep increasing as you keep typing and executing. Shift enter. The cell number has changed to 8 and my focus has gone to the next cell. Shift enter. The focus has gone to the next cell. I want to delete this empty cell. Arun, what is the shortcut to delete an empty cell? You can message on the chat box, Arun. Okay. Yeah. Anil, what's the shortcut to delete an empty cell or any cell having content? Shortcut. Not sure whether Anil is there or not. Okay. X. Sanjeev, the shortcut is X to delete. So here my focus is there, X. It gets deleted. So we have just learned some basic formatting. Now, why Jupyter Notebook is so popular? The reason why Jupyter Notebook is popular is you can do your work in Jupyter Notebook. At the same time, you can do your documentation also. What I mean by documentation is many times when we do our project, we have to document the various steps. So I want to document. So there is something called Markdown. Markdowns are like HTML formatting you can have. So what I'm going to do is introduce a cell above. So here my focus is on the cell A. Above, I bring an empty cell. Now I'm going to press the key M. Here you see it is in blue mode. It is not in green mode, which means it is in a command mode. I press the key M. M for markdown. Now it has come in markdown mode, and now what I can do is enter, and I'll press 1. So key A in command mode, enter cell, enter empty cell above. Double hash. Now I'm using double hash. Key B. I'm not typing again the command mode. Cell below. 3 hash. Shift enter. Execute the cell. These are levels. There are 6 levels. And here I should say shift plus enter. These are levels. I'm just documenting also at the same time showing you the levels. Control plus enter. Execute and keep focus in same cell. M for markdown. 6 hash. X for cut. C for copy. V for paste. These are the shortcuts which we learned, and now I press Control Enter. This is a documentation of what I did. You may use the same for your project documentation, various steps of your codes that you are running. So you can use that documentation. So here you can see when I just put only 1 hash, it is actually heading level 1. 2 hash is heading level 2. 3 hash is for heading level 3. There are 6 levels of header, and as you keep going down, you see font size keep decreasing. So we have also understood markdown. There are some more spatial formatting. Let me show that spatial formatting. I am having tick. The tick is a key which is just below tilde. Typically it is at the leftmost corner of your keyboard, just below the numeric value 1. So there is a tick. If you see, there is a small tick. Tick is for formatting and gray shading. Okay, so I've just entered a tick. Again I put a tick, closing tick, control enter. You see, tick is formatting and gray shading. The text is in gray shaded. Hyphen is for bulleting. Hyphen is for bulleting. Control enter. So this is a quick introduction to Jupyter Notebook. You can have HTML also in this. Let me show HTML. So I'll just open one of my file and take one of the topmost syntax to just show HTML. Those who don't know HTML script, don't bother about it. Okay, here is the HTML script. If you know HTML script, what I'm just trying to tell you is, if you are familiar with HTML scripts, you can run HTML scripts also. In this, reason is your Jupyter Notebook file is opened in a browser. And because it is opened in browser, it supports all the HTML syntaxes. So here I have just written a href syntax for showing an image. So what I would want you to do is ignore the HTML script. Just see this, type on your Jupyter Notebook. As you type, you will remember the shortcuts which I have taught so far. With this, we complete the first part of the workshop, Introduction to Jupyter Notebook. I'll wait for 2 minutes so that you can do the practice at your end and assimilate what I have been explaining. Any questions? Unmute or send message on chat box. Okay, now I move into Python data types, data structures. F11. This is, I already have my codes all written here. So here we now get into the Python basics. One of the important thing that I have noted, many people come up saying that, hey, we know Python programming. Recently, one girl called up, spoke to me saying that I want some customized training on Python. I know Python very well. So I said, okay, what's the difference between a list and a dictionary? She was not able to answer. The reason is, many of us, when we get into Python programming, the first thing that we do is pandas.read CSV. We take a structured CSV file, comma separated value file, a data file, and directly go to pandas and run pandas.read CSV. It creates a data frame, something which is a table like structure which we are very familiar with, and we forget the basic foundation concepts. So I'm going to start from basics, even if it means certain repetition in your knowledge, it's okay. Data types and data structures. Now data types are of three main data types are numbers, string, booleans, and the fourth main data type is date. However, date is internally stored in computer programming as numbers. So there are four main data types which we most frequently come across: numbers, strings, booleans are true false, date. For now we'll cover numbers, string and boolean. So I'm first touching quickly the numbers, and numbers, as you know, are further broken down as integer, float are decimals, complex numbers. So here a equal to 1, b equal to 2.0, c equal to 1j. J is a complex number, square root of -1, and in vectors I, j, k are used to represent the directions of the three axes. So that way. So here the function type is a function which will tell you the variable is of what type. So when I say a equal to 1, a is of what type? If I want to know, I can use a function type a. If I want to know b variable is of what type, I can say type b. Likewise type c. And I'm putting all of this in print function. Reason is, if I just write type a, type b, type c, let me comment this. Hash is used for commenting. I'll give you a shortcut for commenting. For example, I want to comment this entire thing. Shortcut is control/ control // and the shortcut to uncomment is again control/. So here for now let me comment the last line, control/. If I run the code like this, I'm using control enter to execute. Focus will remain at the same thing, same cell. It shows only complex because only the last execution is printed. If you want multiple things to be displayed, in that case you will have to type everything in print, because in Jupyter Notebook only the last outcome of the cell is displayed unless you put it in print. So either you have to have like this print, or you have to have like this. Now let me have both of them. At the same time, you have to ensure your code does not have any space like this. Not a single space will be allowed. Not a single space, because in Python, space is used for saying, it is used to define a block. So if you have a if else condition, then you have to indent the code. So those we'll see later. But for now, simple thing. Oh, what happened? Print. Oh, bracket closure. Mistake here. There was not proper bracket closure. Okay. Kindly type this basic one. It's too basic. It's okay. Type is a function to know the data type of the variable. We'll start slow. Gradually we'll pick up steam. Don't worry. Let's move forward. String. There are three ways to define string. You can use single quote. You can use double quote, which I'm sure all of you programmers know. that string is always enclosed in single quote or double quote. What may be very specific to Python is if you have a string which goes in multiple lines, in that case, you have to enclose your string in 3 double quotes or 3 single quotes. Either of them is okay. So here I've got double quotes. I'm now typing single quotes, 3 single quotes. Either of them is okay. So if you have a string which is a multi-line string, it has to be enclosed in double quote or triple single quotes. So for practice, what I'll do is simple. You have this one. So, and just for practice, you just type line 1, line 2, line 2 and line 3, just to simplify. The quote here is from Bill Gates. I choose a lazy person to do a hard job because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it. And I'm giving you an easy way to do it. Rather than typing the entire syntax, just type line 1, line 2, line 3, so that you recollect that if you have a multiple line string, in that case you have to enclose it between 3 double quotes or you have to enclose it between 3 single quotes. Okay. I'll just wait 30 seconds for those who are practicing. I'm sure this is very fast, quick. You would have been able to quickly practice it. There are certain string manipulations. I'm going to skip them. These are available in our videos. For now, I'll skip them. Booleans. True, false are the 2 booleans, you know. So if you want to say some value is true, you will have to type T capital, then RUE. Python is case sorry, Python is case sensitive. This true, you cannot type true like this. It has to be like this only. Similarly, you cannot have false like this. It has to be like this only. So true and false indicates the Boolean values. At the same time, you have a function bool. So if I say bool 1, you will get the value true. Any programming language, you know, 0 stands for false. So if I say bool 0, it will say false. I'm sure all of you as a programmer know 1 stands for true, 0 stands for false in programming language. However, I'm not sure how many of you know that any value other than 0 is true. So if I say bool of 2, it is true. And if I say bool of -1, it is also true. Any numeric value other than 0 is actually true. Only 0 is used to indicate false. However, we typically use the convention 1 and 0, 1 for true, 0 for false. Okay, so far all these things are basic. Now I'm getting into a very important concept, and that concept is about objects. This concept is very important, and with this concept, those who might have come from programming Python background might have felt, okay, all these things is going on so far basic. Best of the Python programmers typically don't know this concept. Let us try to understand that. A equal to 10. A equal to 10. ID is a function which gives you the memory location. The location in our computer RAM where this variable AA is stored. So if I run this syntax now, I get a value something. So this is some memory location in my laptop where this variable AA having a value 10 is stored. Now we create another variable BB, and I'm again assigning the value 10. If I run the ID AA and ID BB, what do you expect the ID of AA and BB should be? Should ID of AA and BB be same, or will it be different? Those who come from programming background first make a judgment before running the code, and then we will see the output which is shown here. I just now run it. Shift enter. The memory location of AA and memory location of BB both have come to be same. Both are showing up same. So this is a very important concept in Python. Kindly type execute the syntax, and then I will take 2 minutes to explain what is happening in the background. Let us try to understand this object concept. I'll have to have a drawing tool pen. Let's just create a visual. This is, say, this rectangular box is, say, your RAM, laptop, desktop RAM. When you say AA equal to 10, you are creating AA as a variable. 10 is the value. You are assigning AA the value 10. So AA is pointing to the value 10. When you are now running another syntax BB equal to 10, in Python, everything is an object. Even the value 10 is actually stored as an object of type integer. So 10 is an object of type integer. When you run the code BB equal to 10, Python first scans its global memory to see is there any object of type integer having value 10. If it is, rather than creating a new object, Python points it to the same object. As such, the memory pointer of AA and BB has turned out to be same. And this concept is very important to understand, because when you're going to work in Python, there is another concept that is going to come up, which is called mutable and immutable objects. Let me erase it. There's another concept which is called as mutable and immutable objects. which I'm going to cover in the next session. Here it is list, which you are going to see in our upcoming session, where we are going to get into data structures. At that time, I'll explain what are mutable and immutable objects. But for now, why is it very important to understand this concept of object? Let me highlight it. Quite often, when you will work in, quite often when you are going to work in your Python environment and you will be working with large data sets, what may happen is you will have a data set df1. It is some data frame. You want to process df1 data frame 1. You want to do some more processing, but before you do further processing, you may feel that let me have a copy of it, so that if I write some more processing on df1 and it goes wrong, I'll have a safe copy. So you will create something like this: df1.bkp, df1 underscore bkp backup equal to df1. You are creating a copy, and then you will start making df1 and some transformation you will apply. All of a sudden you realize code has gone wrong. On df1 something has gone wrong. You will say, okay, no worries. Why? Because I got a backup of df1. So what you will do safely, you will say df1 is equal to df1 underscore bkp. Unfortunately, this is not going to help you. Why? Because when you say df1 underscore backup equal to df1, there are two objects, df1 underscore backup. Both of the objects are pointing to the same memory location. Now, whether you make the transformation using df1 or whether you make the transformation using df1 underscore bkp, it is changing the same object. As a result, df1 gets corrupted, df1 underscore bkp also gets corrupted. This concept is a mutable object concept. I'll explain it more detail when we get into list and tuple, that is data structures, in our upcoming session. However, this concept of object, it is very important to understand. This is where Python differs from other programming language, and this concept is very essential to understand, which we will cover in our tomorrow's session, where we have these concepts on data structures, where we have list, dictionary, tuple, sets, and mutable, immutable objects. Any questions for things that we learned so far? If there are no questions, then in the meantime, I have to get into an important thing to be mentioned. You have to visit the website elearning.k2analytics.co.in. Let me send that on the chat box. This is the link. Okay. On this link, you will have this register, login, register, either of that place, register. click register if you have not registered. Kindly register yourself. Once you register, after register, log in. And once you have logged in, you will see resources. I'm going to give the privilege. I'm going to definitely give the privilege. You will have a resources section where you will have, now here there is something self-paced online Python machine learning. So you will have something like this showing up, self-paced online Python. And in that self-paced online Python, you will have these kind of Python videos which are coming here. Installation, data structures, modules, all of that. Those will be visible to you. So that as I teach, there are certain things, because it's a workshop, I'll not be able to take all the content in 1 hour. So as I said, I just skipped certain step, some string manipulation, right? Those things are all covered in detail in those videos. So you can practice from there. If there are no questions, we can conclude today's session. I wait for your queries. Sanjeev, any queries from your side?
No, as of now, no. Thank you.
Arun, Anil. At the same time, if you have questions, others, if you don't have questions, you can drop. And those who have questions, I can wait for another 10-15 minutes. It's okay to handle and answer your queries. After all sessions, we'll definitely start every day at exactly 9. We'll definitely end the session exactly at 10. Okay. So this is how we will have. And after 10, if you have any questions, I will wait to answer those questions. Okay, if there are no questions, then we conclude today's session here. Thank you.